Aw,
I'll
yeah.
keep my mouth shut for now. Keep my
Oh,
mouth shut for now.
I'm sorry, Clutter. I'm sorry, Clutter. Shout out goes to our rank 1 admin, Clutter. Yeah, yeah. Shh, 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 shh. We're gonna jump into the very first map intro of the best of 5 series. It's the Grand Arena. All right, welcome to the Grand Arena, and you called it. We have an LSD for
Yeah.
Cloud9.
So actually, something to note. Just inspected Jamili. He's actually playing that Frostspec, but he's decided to play that Evan S. So he actually has no ice blocks in this matchup. Also playing the rapid displacement glyph, so he has a double blink as well as FNS to sort of get around and make sure that they can get their setups right away. Peekaboo trying to get opens up or try to get a good opening here, gets bashed up by Cubsy. Businessman taking a lot of damage. Jamili already deciding to go aggressive, using that Evan S to get what actually happened to that? He tried to get the Ring of Frost down. Did he Evan S too late?
The blind from Elite, man. The double blind goes out into Cubsy right for the Nature Swiftness, and Wealthy Man actually getting interrupted, going to use the Hellstone. Cubsy now caught into the blind, is going to trinket out of it in just the half blind, but this is the smoke bomb on the Wealthy Man. The Shamanistic Rage fades, and down goes Wealthy Man. Tempo Storm taking a convincing game number 1 here in this best of 5 series of the finals. Holy crow, dude.
That was perfect. They just had such a good plan going into that game. Elite actually using that blind right away, was able to just get him into that chain. I'm not sure what happened to that first ring from Jamili, because he did Evan S.
I don't know.
It looked like he got Shadowfeared on it. Do you have the replay for that?
Yeah, I'm actually watching it right now. The ring looks like it's stuck, man. I don't know. But holy crow, what an incredible first game of the series. Cloud9 playing this seemingly like invincible LSD is going to be taken out by Tempo Storm here in game number 1, and you got to give a shout out where shout outs due. These guys adapted accordingly, called what composition that Cloud9 was going to be playing. They knew that they were going to be playing that LSD. They had a strat and they pulled it off, man.
Yeah, absolutely. I think if they're playing those specs though, like if somehow Cloud9 can manage to survive, I mean that was a good convincing game 1, but Cloud9 played a little bit safer, and Cubsy still had that Iron Bark, didn't use it when he finally trinketed, didn't want to overlap with the Shomwall, and I think if he actually got that off, it might have been a different story. And I mean, Elite not having the 30-second Hodge and Jamili not having ice blocks, as the game goes along, it's going to be in Cloud9's favor.
Right.
But it's just going to be up to them and see if they can actually survive that rushdown.
Yeah, we're going to find out here as we jump into game number 2. Just a reminder, everybody, this is one single best of 5 series. And so far, Tempo Storm is taking game number 1. But man, Tempo Storm has had a rough ride to get here. That first game, I don't know if you got a chance to watch it, but the first game that they got in the lower bracket against La Louis, that 3-2 series of RMP was actually insane to watch. And, you know, they had a whole bunch of other, I mean, they had Method Black, and they had you, and then they had Donut, and they made it all the way here to the finals to face Cloud9. So here we go. Can they do it? But Cloud9 has been seeming to be so good, and you always see Goreki, you always see Cubsy queuing up that ladder, and you gotta love that. They're putting in the work.
Well, one thing to also note is now it's Cloud9's comp choice as well. They might not actually run LSD again. If they know that they're going to run that Mage Rogue Paladin, they could switch it up and play like Rogue Mage Druid. They could play Holy Pally God Comp. A lot of different options available to them. They don't have to play that anymore. I'm assuming the reason they chose LSD is because they thought that they would play God Comp, right?
Right.
So
I mean, they get notified of what composition they're about to face here in game number 2. And so you think that if they do Rogue Mage Paladin again, we're going to see... I
just think that there's a better option besides LSD against that, with all the comps that they have available to them.
Yeah, definitely. They have both of these teams.
Yeah, I don't think that like Rogue Mage Paladin has an advantage against something like RMD, and we all know Cloud9 has a very good RMD that they can bust out.
Oh, yeah, I'd absolutely love to see Roasties come and play, man. That'd be sick. We haven't actually seen them compete yet in this tournament, so busting out the Roasties in the finals might be the right way to go. But here we go. We're going to be getting into game number 2 here very shortly. And do we have a map choice yet, Clutter? Oh, she said it actually in chat.
Yeah, Tolvaron, it looks like.
Tolvaron Arena. So nice big wide open map. What does staff mean? I see people spamming staff. Wand. We having an argument whether or not what weapon is better?
What weapon? What are you talking about?
I don't know. I'm just reading chat. I suppose I should do that.
Oh.
It confuses me. But it's Cloud9
It
versus...
confused me. I was like, wait, what?
Dude, these pictures look so good. These are the pictures actually from regionals as well as BlizzCon that I use for the versus graphics, and I'm just looking at these players. These players look so serious. But make sure to follow these guys on Twitter, guys, if you want to watch them compete, if you want to watch their point of view, their Twitch point of view. Follow them on Twitter. They all tweet when they go live and whatnot, so it's super cool.
These guys are so serious.
Look at Roasty's with his
to
chin up, man.
Battle
Looks,
in the arena.
what's up?
Yeah.
Those are actually my favorite when I was watching GSL back in the day, when like the Korean players had the super serious poses and their giant jackets. It was the greatest thing ever.
Yeah, they're awesome jackets on.
I love those jackets. But here we go. It's Cloud9 sticking with that Rogue Mage Paladin composition in it's Tempo Storm sticking with that Rogue Mage Paladin composition. And you called it, man. Cloud9's gonna go ahead and switch it up to Goreki on the Shadow Priest, Wealthy Man on that Frost Mage, and Kubzi on the Holy Paladin.
Yep, and we'll have to see how they can do. I don't think this is a great matchup for Tempo Storm. Maybe they're just not that confident in the mirror. Or the thing is, like, Tempo Storm's kind of stuck into playing this matchup because if they decide to play Holy Pally God Comp, then
right.
Cloud9 just picks the LSD, obviously, which is like an auto loss. So
it's a big
Tempo Storm's
deal.
almost forced, and they're forced into like this situation where they have to play at a disadvantage.
Yeah, it's a really big deal that Tempo Storm actually won in a Grand Arena in that blind pick, because theoretically, if it goes back and forth on each composition choice, Tempo Storm should have the advantage with comp and map pick at match point. But here we go.
Yeah.
Is it going to go that back and forth is the question, or one of these teams going to be able to take a win on someone else's comp or map choice? Sap onto Goreki, deep freeze onto Cubsy into the full polymorph. Wealthy Sock is the kill target for now, it would seem. Goreki actually getting hodged up as well. Death from above is going to chunk down Wealthy Sock down to 31% healthier. Wings execution sentence used by Cubsy to try to heal up Wealthy Sock. But now Cloud9 is going to turn this around. Hodge on the peekaboo, CC onto Elite, and it looks like Jamili's going to be completely fine with that Wings execution sentence from Elite to be able to keep his team offensive. And here we go. The hand of sacrifice from Cubsy preemptively on that blind. Did it get broken? No, he's not going to break. He's going to bop out of it for now. This was Peekaboo's dance, so that double bop is going to keep his team completely aggressive moving forward in here. Wealthy Sock actually trinketing out of that death from above from Peekaboo is not going to get a whole lot done, and it looks like Cloud9 is completely fine, not using all that much, but a lot of trinkets and bops being used by Cloud9 so far.
Jamili did a really good job there. Actually, Elite was caught into a full polymorph. Jamili actually getting a full invis off, but he gets back into the heat of battle, gets disarmed up by Goreki. Actually, still in a little bit of trouble having to go into that first ice block, as Elite is still not out of that CC chain. Elite having every single defensive cooldown, though, available, ready to go. Wings coming up in around 40 seconds. Still has all of his breaks. Caught into that full frost at the moment. Team Temple Storm is trying to get some damage out onto Wealthy Sock. Cubsy caught into the full blind, actually. Goreki sitting that blind as well. Cubsy actually trinketing that blind into a full polymorph. Wealthy Man in a little bit of trouble now. Still has both his blocks available if he needs it. Just has to make sure he gets it off. Down to 15% HP. 10%. The smoke bomb comes out. The first block being forced onto Wealthy Sock.
I feel like Cloud9 might be at a disadvantage with their composition, or I'm sorry, Temple Storm might be in a disadvantage, but Cloud9 seems to be on the back foot so far, already forcing that ice block. Jamili having only just one ice block as well. Cloud9 pushing up, but Wealthy Sock getting sapped up by Peekaboo. Just going to stop that momentum. Elite now put into that full fear. Jamili the kill target for now. Ice Nova is going to be landing over onto him. Cheap shot, and there's the full kidney shot onto Wealthy Sock. It would seem deep freeze onto Cubsy. They're trying to get a second ice block right here, right now, with Peekaboo's dance. Cubsy coming out of that CC, going into the half polymorph, and at 1% health, the second block is going to be used by Wealthy Sock, and Temple Storm has all the momentum they need to lock in game number 2 here in Cloud9's composition choice.
Yeah, Wealthy Man's actually in a lot of trouble. He doesn't have a block for another 2 minutes. Cubsy has only bubble available, no Avenging Wrath. So, I mean, even though he's going to be able to bubble out of CC, he has no bops available, and his healing is going to be pretty weak with that no wings available. Elite actually getting feared and polymorphed at the same time. A little bit of an overlap there by Wealthy Man and Goreki. Jamili, though, could be his second block as well. Going to that ice block. Actually gets MD'd instantly by Goreki. Jamili's still in a lot of trouble. The Save of the Light does proc on him. Elite finally out of CC, actually getting silenced up on his Word of Glory. He does have bop and bubble if he needs it. He needs the bubble. He needs to get these casts off. Jamili's still so low. Down to 10% HP, 5% HP, 1% HP.
How is he alive?
At 1% HP. He's still in trouble, though. The full polymorph out onto Elite. And what that game came down to was Elite just
wanting to hold on to his bubble for too long. The MD on Jamili's block should have been, boom, bubble from Elite, and he just fell behind and he couldn't keep him up.
I don't know. Did he actually get Massa spelled out, or did he come out? Because Elite actually got MD'd on his bubble. Elite actually got MD'd on his bubble and then interrupted.
I'm almost positive that Jamili got. What's the cooldown on MD?
I don't know. I actually have no idea, but they interrupted that Word of Glory at the very end.
He did them both.
Oh, wow.
He MD'd the bubble and the late bubble. Or he MD'd the block and the late bubble.
Crazy game, dude. Crazy game coming out from Tempo Storm and Cloud9. Cloud9 now tying up the series 1-1. But man, that was a close game. That was a close game on Cloud9's composition and map choice nonetheless. But we're going to be jumping into the third match of this best of 5 series. This is the finals, ladies and gentlemen, between Cloud9 and Tempo Storm, who is going to be crowned champion of GPL number 3. We're going to find out here in just a few more seconds.
Let's kind of think about what happens now. So now it's Tempo Storm's comp advantage. What would you do if you were Cloud9? If I was Cloud9, I'd be kind of confident in the Holy Pally God Comp.
Right.
They can just lock in God Comp, and it forces Tempo Storm to not even have an advantage, just an even playing field, God Comp versus God Comp.
Right.
And I think they're pretty confident in that matchup.
Yeah, I would be too. I mean, Goreki and those guys have been doing so well, and their God Comp is the reason why they got here in the finals. I think that a mirror matchup of the God Comps is definitely what it's going to come down to, and it doesn't get much more even than that.
Yeah, exactly. So that, I mean, like you said, although Tempo Storm won on Nagran, they don't really have a big advantage. They're just playing mirror.
Right.
So
they have to be able to beat them in the mirror regardless of that Grand Arena advantage. Can they do it? Can they step up the Cloud9 in the mirror? That being said, Peekaboo's on an ult, but so is kind of Goreki. This is going to be interesting jumping into this series. I can't wait to see what happens. And I bet you're calling it. I bet you're calling it. I love having Ben on the stream because he's been in these positions, so he knows what's going through these players' mind. And we're going to be jumping into the series very, very soon. This is the third game of this best of 5 series in the finals between Cloud9 and Tempo Storm. Tiger Peep has been locked in as the map choice, a very, very, even map choice. But man, these are some pretty big names. A lot of people are actually saying that Tempo Storm might be falling off a little bit, but they're proving it right here, right now, that they can compete with the best of the best, making it all the way to the finals to face Cloud9. And this matchup couldn't be more hyped.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, Elite, Peekaboo, Jamili, obviously really, really good arena players. I don't think they've been playing as much as they normally do, but that could just be because of the holidays or whatever, But obviously they're still really good players, and they'll be a good matchup for anyone.
Yep, and here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, it's game number 3, played out on Tiger Speak. Welcome everyone to Tiger Speak. It's Cloud9 versus Tempo Storm, and Cloud9 actually opting to run that LSD composition versus Tempo Storm's RM Paladin. So maybe they feel like in game number 1 they just made a few mistakes. They can definitely survive past it all regardless of getting the Rogue Mage Paladin mirror, or not mirror, but the Rogue Mage Paladin composition here. Maybe they think they can do something different than they did in game number 1. I mean, Cloud9 did die very, very quickly.
Yeah, they did, but I think they're going to be expecting it. I mean, it's going to be hard for them to avoid CC, though. Jamili playing that Evanesce. Their all-in is actually very powerful. He's going to get the deep. He's going to get the ring. It's going to be followed up by blind. Peekaboo also having his blind. So if they can get that early pressure and momentum, they definitely have the CC.
Peekaboo actually getting knocked out. I don't know how big a deal that is, but Wealthy Man actually knocking out Peekaboo right away. Lee taking a chunk of damage in the background, but here's the dance from Peekaboo. Hodge on Goreki, deep freeze ring onto Cubsy as Shamanistic Rage going to be forced onto Wealthy Man, but it doesn't seem like it matters all that much as a whole bunch of damage goes out. There's the full blind, like you were saying, onto Cubsy to follow it up, and that's going to be a whole bunch more damage on the Wealthy Man, but that Shamanistic Rage is going to go down. The half sap goes out onto Cubsy from that. Death from above from Peekaboo. No Shamanistic Rage no longer available. Here is the bomb coming out from Peekaboo, but no stun to follow it up, and he's just going to run out of that, catch the Nature Swiftness, and it looks like Wealthy Man is going to survive the opener from Tempo Storm after all.
Yeah, Cubsy didn't even have to trinket that blind. Very well done by Wealthy Man, kiting. Good peels coming out from Goreki as well. Now Team Temple Storm's in a little bit of trouble. I mean, their first go, they weren't able to really accomplish too much. All they really got was that Shamanistic Rage coming out from Wealthy Man. Here it comes, though, the Shadow Fury out on the Peekaboo, and they're set up. Cubsy actually caught into that full Rain of Frost once again. Businessman in a lot of trouble. Cubsy actually having to trinket. Gets the Ironbark up, though. Full Hots as well. Gets caught into that full bind by Elite, but I think Businessman is going to survive. The DR Sap coming out from Peekaboo, though. Wealthy's still in a little bit of trouble, down to 30% HP. The Ironbark is going to fade. The Garrote on the Cubsy. Businessman goes down to the Ice Nose of Jamili. Beautiful CC coming out from Team Temple Storm, and they're going to take that game 2-1. And you have to think, like, I can't imagine why Cloud9 is playing this comp again. Like, it just feels like they threw by picking LSD. I just don't understand it.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Tempo Storm just has so much momentum, so much CC going into this, and I love Elite's choice of running that blind specialization to synchronize with the rest of his team to set up that CC chain. And Cloud9 is going to lose game number 3 here in the finals, and all of a sudden, Tempo Storm is just one game away from coming back from that lower bracket and beating Cloud9 in the finals, and I can't wait to see what comes up next. Now, Cloud9 is going to have that composition advantage once again. I'm sorry, not once again, but they're going to have that composition advantage now. Do you think that we're going to be seeing a... I mean, they're probably going to... So we're going to see Tempo Storm probably play God Comp at this point, right? It's probably what we're going to be seeing, I feel.
I don't know.
Do you think they're just going to stick with RMD? I feel like they're just like changing it up on us just to mess with our heads at this point. But
they might... I feel like what it's going to come down to is a God Comp mirror.
Right.
I just think if right now Cloud9 chooses to play God Comp, Temple Storm has to play God Comp as a response. I don't think they'll win as Rogue Mage Pally, at least not consistently. And then I think that Cloud9, I mean, they should have just played the mirror. They lost the first game and like so fast. Honestly, though, to Temple Storm's credit, I mean, that strategy with the Evanesce, they're getting their constant CC out. Peekaboo doing an amazing job throwing out those off Garrotes and DR Saps when he needs to, when Peekaboo or when Jamili isn't able to follow up the polymorph. So Temple Storm's CC is on point. That rushdown strategy is seeming to be very, very effective for them. And I think at this point, Cloud9 is not going to be running LSD anymore.
Yeah. I'm going to have to agree with you there. I mean, that LSD, we saw the first game, you could kind of blow it off and say, oh, that was a fluke, that was just so crazy fast, you know? Lucky crits or whatever you want to say. But going into it and doing it consistently again, I mean, I wouldn't play LSD into that if I was in their shoes. No way. No way. I can't wait to see what these teams are going to be choosing next as we go into game number 3. I'm sorry, game number 4, potentially match point for Tempo Storm. Tempo Storm has got to be feeling pretty good right now. They made it to the finals through a rough lower bracket. And all the way here is kind of like a Cinderella story. Can Peekaboo, Jamili, and Elite do it? Can they beat Cloud9? We're going to find out here in just a bit. I was actually talking to a lot of my buddies and stuff like that throughout like the community. I'm not going to name any names, but a lot of people are actually convinced that Cloud9 was just unbeatable right now. There was like no team that could really match them. And I guess right here, we're proving that wrong. Right here, right now, as Tempo Storm is stepping up to the plate and is taking the series lead 2-1. It's one more game for Tempo Storm, and they will be crowned tournament number 3 champions. Or can Cloud9 come back from that? I mean, I feel like Cloud9 has proven that they have the stronger Holy Paladin God Comp. So I would love to see some Holy Paladin God Comp mirrors, but maybe they don't want to. They don't want a mirror. Maybe they don't want that, man.
Yeah,
I mean, running so many different compositions, I think you want to kind of have that advantage.
Right.
One thing I'm surprised that they never really run though is like, I'll say it after this game.
Okay.
Or not after the game, like when I don't know when you do the intro or whatever.
I'm not gonna do the intro for this one. Oh, but here we go. We're gonna jump right into Dollar and Sewers and just continue your thought.
I was just thinking that I think one composition that's kind of underrated and actually really strong is Warlock Mage Paladin, and I think it actually counters Mage Paladin. Like any Mage Paladin team, I think should maybe lose to Mage Warlock Paladin. So I'm surprised they don't ever try that or run that, because I think it'd be pretty safe against everything Temple Storm could run.
Yeah, Gorecki does have that Warlock available to them, so I don't know. Maybe they're just.
Yeah, he's a good Warlock.
Yeah, so it's Tempo Storm versus Cloud9, and Cloud9 actually going to opt for that God Comp composition, and Tempo Storm's going to stick with the Rogue Mage Paladin instead. Interesting. So instead of going that God Comp and knowing that they're going to get a mirror, they go Rogue Mage Paladin. Do you think that Cloud9 would ever run LSD into God Comp, though?
Cloud9 would ever run LSD in the God Comp. I think that's what they want to do. They want to run LSD in the God Comp. They're not in a position where they can do that anymore.
All right.
It's because of how the way the picks and stuff work. But we'll have to see how this opener goes. Peekaboo immediately getting that sap onto Goreki, the Garrote onto Wealthy Man. Actually getting pre-sacked, the Wealthy Man is by Cubsy, so Cubsy not going to be put in any crowd control at the moment. Goreki getting bursted down. Huge, though. Down to 30% HP already. The deep freeze out onto Cubsy. This could be the first of Goreki, but the fear goes out onto Peekaboo as well as Jamili. Now Jamili getting counter-pressured quite hard. Elite actually deciding to trinket, immediately using that execution sentence onto Jamili, topping him off. Peekaboo taking a little bit of damage. He is caught down the stairs into that disarm. He's going to be fine, though, as he does get that feint up. And if we look at the cooldowns, Elite and Jamili had to use their trinket, and Cubsy really didn't have to use anything.
Yeah, no, he just bopped that blind off right there, and I feel like, I don't know, they had really no momentum. He's just going to go ahead and bop it, but it looks like Wealthy Man might be the kill target for Tempo Storm here moving forward into the game, but Cloud9 kind of fending off of that setup and just kind of diffusing it completely now. Wealthy Sock and Goreki pushing in to try to make something happen. Full Polymorph landing onto Elite. Blink out into the middle of the map. Deep Freeze onto Jamili. Hodge onto Peekaboo. 3v1 situation. Horrify is going to be blocked by Jamili. He's just going to go ahead and trade that up. Master Spell coming out from Goreki is going to get Jamili out of that block right away. Wings from Elite is going to keep Jamili alive for now. Bop as well. There's the blind going out onto, looks like Kubzi and Goreki as they set up onto Wealthy Sock, dipping him down to 50% health here. Kubzi into the half polymorph is going to be broken out by that Ice Nova. Another polymorph, and he's going to block at 13% health here, and that was Wealthy Man's last ice block.
Wealthy Man actually coming out of that. He wants to get this follow-up CC onto Elite. Peekaboo there, though. Gouge onto him. He's in a smoke bomb. Wealthy Man in a lot of trouble right now. Down to 23% HP. The War Master comes out from Cubsy, spamming out those heals over and over, and Wealthy's man over-aggression almost cost Cloud9 this game. Thankfully, Cubsy was able to keep him up. Jamili now caught into the disarm, the deep freeze onto Elite right away. Peekaboo needing to stop the CC. No polymorph going to be put out onto Elite at the moment. Seems like Jamili's going to be just fine. Goreki actually dispersing offensive there. Dispersing at 100% HP, getting the fear out onto Elite as well as Peekaboo. So now Goreki caught in a situation where he doesn't have disperse. So maybe Jamili and Peekaboo are able to capitalize on that a little bit later in the game.
Yeah, I mean, Wealthy Man's got to be careful moving forward into this game. He does not have another ice block available to him, and Tempo Storm is feeling quite good. Peekaboo also a bit vulnerable too. Oh, here's the setup though. Death from above is going to land onto him. Cubsy with his wings up is going to get interrupted on a cast. Saved by the light, procking for Wealthy Man. He's pulling back. He is a scared little mage. He's desperately trying to get some damage going out, trying to push these guys back. Deep Freeze lands over onto Cubsy, but Peekaboo actually getting defensively feared by Goreki is going to save him a little bit of face. Wealthy Sock catching the Hand of Sacrifice from Kubzi for now, but it's actually just going to get spell stolen right off. Now Elite being caught in the polymorph, he's going to trinket out of that as Peekaboo has no trinket, caught in the full Hodge. Whole bunch of damage coming in. Cloak is going to come as soon as he lands, or as soon as that Hodge comes off. And now they want to get set right back up onto Wealthy Sock. Kubzi in the back line getting Frostjawed. Kidney Shot goes out onto Wealthy Sock. He's been garroted as well. He can't blink out of this. There's the blink, and Kubzi's going to go ahead and bubble to trade up those offensive cooldowns. Death from above. They're still just trying to rip right through all of the healing of Kubzi, just spamming those flash of lights through that bubble. But now Cloud9 is just left completely defenseless, and I have to feel like Tempo Storm's Rogue Mage Paladin composition is doing so well against the God comp of Cloud9. There's the polymorph onto Elite. Setup goes out onto Jamili, and that's the last block for Jamili coming out now. He's going to come out of it. Death from above onto Wealthy Sock. Save the lights going to proc. It's ripped right through as the polymorphs land onto Kubzi's trinket. Wings still up for Kubzi as he lands into that Frostjaw. Elite bubbling as well, keeping Jamili alive without any blocks available to him. And this could be anyone's game at any second. Polymorph goes out onto Peekaboo. Jamili still in a bit of trouble. Wealthy Sock completely fine at full health, but with no outs for Kubzi. This is going to be a very scary game moving forward for Cloud9.
You know, the double fear coming out from Goreki onto Jamili as well as Elite. Not able to capitalize on that too much. Cubsy's Avenging Wrath going to be fading now. Elite actually has his Avenging Wrath coming up in 15 seconds. The full deep freeze, though, going out onto Elite. Peekaboo using a Shadow Dance. Wealthy Man could be in a lot of trouble here. Cubsy into the full sheep. This is going to be the game. Wealthy Man has to somehow live for another 15 seconds, or his Cold Snap is going to come up. He's just cutting the best he can. Peekaboo actually getting stuck down there, but the death from above coming in from Peekaboo. Somehow Wealthy Man is alive. Cubsy actually throwing out that sacrifice on him as well. The Hodge going out onto Peekaboo. The sheep onto Elite. So Cloud9 trying to counter pressure right here. Now Wealthy Man has his Cold Snap available. He does have another Ice Block, and that should carry him through to Cubsy getting some more defensive cooldowns coming back up. Peekaboo could be in a little trouble, though. He doesn't have that Cloak of Shadows for quite some time. Does have Trinket, but Jamili is actually the target of choice. Saved by the light proccing on him. He has a huge shield at the moment. Elite using his Avenging Wrath, throwing out a huge Holy Light onto him. Jamili is going to be just fine at the moment. Jamili also having his cold snap come back up. But Wealthy Man caught, or taking a lot of damage right now. Cubsy caught into that blind coming out from Elite. Wealthy Man pulling back, trying to just get out. Sheep's down to 14% HP, forced into that block as Cubsy is caught into that full Sheep. Cubsy, though, going to have that trinket coming up in around 20 seconds. No bubble for another 3 minutes. So very, very long cooldown on that bubble. Wealthy Man still in a lot of trouble, though. The War Master coming out onto that Frost Shot. DR Cheap Shot going out from Peekaboo onto Cubsy. The Avenging Wrath coming out from Cubsy. Going to be able to hopefully keep up Wealthy Man. Gets full blinded on it. Doesn't have any outs. Trinket coming up in 3 seconds. Can Wealthy Man hold on? Doing his best to kite. They need to get some sort of counter pressure going on, but Temple Storm has Cloud9 on the back foot all game long. Wealthy Man finally getting some heals from Cubsy. Looks like his HP is going to stabilize, and this is what they need. Jamili now in a little bit of trouble. Might get his last block forced. Just deciding to block. Actually blocking. Gets the DR Sheep onto Cubsy. Wealthy Man in a lot of trouble right now. Cubsy does have his trinket. Not in any CC at the moment. Into the DR Garrote. Wealthy Man could just die, and he is going to go down, and Temple Storm is going to take this series 3-1. I mean, I did not expect Temple Storm to win that matchup. They played amazingly. As far as I'm concerned, they deserve to win this.
I'm going to have to agree with you, man. I mean, Rogue Mage Paladin against Holy Pally God Comp, this is not what I was expecting. But the plays coming out from both of these teams were just absolutely unbelievable. And Tempo Storm is going to take the final game of this series against Cloud9 to the very bitter end. Cloud9 is going to go down to Tempo Storm. Tempo Storm fighting their way from that lower bracket from round 1. And here they are to compete and take the finals. Congratulations to Tempo Storm for taking tournament number 3. Shout out goes to Cloud9, always playing so amazing, but they are going to fall to Tempo Storm. And there you have it, the conclusion to GPL number 3. Tempo Storm are your champions. Shout out goes to Jamili, Elite, and Peekaboo for playing so well and being adaptive with those multiple compositions. And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen.